Okay, welcome to a presentation about the principles of design. This is going to build off of what you learned in the last video about the elements of art. As a reminder, the elements of art is the idea of that elements are like ingredients. You can make foods with lots of different ingredients, and you can make art with our different elements. There are ingredients for making art, and like I told you in the last video, what's cool is you can take the same few elements or ingredients and you can make very different things with them. You can take the same things like milk, sugar, and cream and stuff and make ice cream. You can make creme brulee. That's very, very different. You can make whipped cream. You can make pancakes. You can make a mess. There's lots of different things you can make with the elements or the ingredients. And so you take your elements of art and make those into different principles of design. So I'm going to skip through down to our principles because I already went through these elements of art with you, like line and shape and form and color and value and texture and space. Sorry. Okay, here we go. Now we're at our principles of design. These can be a little bit tricky, but if you follow along, I show a lot of good examples. I'm going to recommend you take notes as you're going along because yes, you will see definitions of the principles of design, but sometimes what really, really matters is not the definition. A definition just sounds like it comes out of a dictionary. What really matters is how I explain something to you because it'll probably make more sense when I show you the examples, okay? So the first principle of design we'll talk about is the idea of unity. And think of unity, think of United States of America. We're supposed to be united. We're supposed to be all together. We're kind of supposed to fit together like if you look at a map of the United States, it's like puzzle pieces fitting together. And the same thing happens in art where when you look at a piece of art, it's supposed to kind of look like it's like everything comes together and looks very unified and it goes together like a puzzle. So typically with Unity, everything kind of looks a little similar, and so it fits together. Nothing stands out on its own too much. So as you can see, they used very similar colors throughout this whole thing. Everything is broken up into organic shapes. We have like a couple horses in here that we can see. We have all these leaves that helps everything look unified from up here all the way down here. We can see all those leafy shapes. And really the sense of color helps everything stay unified here. Right here we have a bird theme going on, so just the theme of the painting makes it kind of unified because we have all these birds. Here we have very similar, just the same round shapes and a very limited color palette going on, so that helps it look unified. And right here we just have very basic geometric shapes and just two colors, black and white. So this helps it look very simplified and it all just kind of fits together and looks like it's unified. So that's unity, okay? Now emphasis, I like to think of it as the opposite of unity because with emphasis, one part of the picture gets noticed a lot more. It stands out. It doesn't look like everything fits together because one person, kind of like maybe your brother or sister that gets all the attention. It's kind of like that. So in this picture, hopefully you can see that, yeah, your eye kind of probably goes to this green tomato and it stands out more than anything else. If that green tomato weren't there and it was just another red tomato, it would probably look like it had unity, but the green tomato gets all the attention, okay? Just like the ballerina on the elephant here. You probably didn't even notice there's clouds in the background because this chick and this elephant get all the attention. And probably when you're looking at this, probably your eye goes to this yellow spot. Now, the one point that our eye does go to and it does stay focused on, that's called the focal point, okay? So as you can see here, your eye probably like looked at all these lines and then kind of got stuck on this circle, so that would be the focal point. This yellow spot would probably be the focal point. That's what your eye focuses on when there's emphasis, okay? Now, balance can be a little tricky to understand, so I'm going to do my best to explain it to you. There are 3 different types of balance, and I'll show you the different meanings of them. But first, we got to think about, when we think of balance, just, when you're making art, you always pretty much start with a blank piece of paper. And your job is to figure out how you're going to draw something on there and kind of fill up the space. So, when you have balance, you want to fill up the space so that the space is kind of equally filled. If I were to draw one apple right here and nothing else on the rest of the page, then it seemed like things would be out of balance because there's something right here, but there's like nothing on the other side, or there's nothing in the corner. Everything would just be on one side of the piece of paper. And we want to fill our space kind of equally. It helps it feel balanced in our eyes when we're looking at something. Um, so I'll show examples, and I think it'll make more sense with the examples. So the first type of balance is symmetrical balance, and this is probably the easiest one for you to understand. So if this was our wall that we're painting on, the person created symmetrical balance here because they put the exact same face on the left side that they put on the right side. So they filled up the space from left to right exactly the same. And the thing with symmetrical balance is the idea that everything is balanced so perfectly that I could literally cut a line down the center and it would be a mirror image from left to right, the exact same thing. Okay, if you take a look at the human face, a human face is symmetrically balanced when you look at it. If I look right down the center, everything is about the same from left to right. I have a left eye and I have a right eye. I've got a left nostril and a right nostril. I have somewhere in there I have a left ear and a right ear. So everything is the same from left to right. Okay. Here's just some more examples. If I cut down the center, I have the wings on this side, followed by the wings on the right side. It's exactly the same. It's a mirror image. Okay, bridges are symmetrically balanced, first of all, for physics, so that you can walk on them and feel okay. But when you actually look at them, they're a really beautiful place to take pictures at, because if you cut it down the center, everything is exactly the same from the left to the right. Okay. Now, asymmetrical balance means that I'm filling up my space with these drawings or these pictures. It doesn't mean that everything is exactly the same like with symmetrical balance, but I did fill my space so that my painting or my drawing still has a sense of balance on each side. So, or I can even go corner to corner, and I'll show you what I mean. So, this person chose to draw, a group of people and an animal in this right corner, okay? And that is balanced out by the people and the animal in this left corner. Okay, something that also kind of creates balance is I have this little bit of a landscape in this house right here, okay, drawn on this corner. And then I have this bit of landscape and mountains on this side of the painting, okay? So basically you fill your space, your paper, your page up with stuff, with visual drawings, with visual stuff, so that it's equaled out. And it does not have to be exactly the same whatsoever, but just in terms of size and visual weight, it kind of balances out. And again, more examples will help. So I'm going to skip through those ones. Okay, let's take a look at this one, okay? We have a great sense of balance from top to bottom here. These canoes, or kayaks, I guess, and these rocks take up some visual weight. My eye looks at this stuff. And then, so the bottom of the painting or the picture is filled with some stuff. And the top of the painting is also filled with this stuff. These mountains and these clouds also take up space, and my eye kind of goes there. Okay, so from top to bottom, I have some nice balance. Okay. Now, is this exactly the same from left to right? Absolutely not. But this lantern or hummingbird feeder, I'm not sure, on the left side is kind of balanced out visually by these bells on the right side. Okay, so there is balance. It's just that it's not exactly the same. It's not a mirror image. Okay. Now, the third type of balance is radial, and I think this one's a little easier to understand. It just means that kind of everything in the picture, the drawing, radiates out from a central point. So we have this center point right here, and then we have these four trees that kind of radiate out and kind of encircle that central point, along with this other decoration and these other bumps around the edges. I think I have one more example, okay? If you've ever seen these stained glass mirrors, or stained glass windows, we have the central point here, and then everything kind of radiates out equally from that central point. Okay, so hopefully that's making sense. Okay, variety is cool. I like to think of variety. I like to make food comparisons Variety is like a combination pizza with like lots of different stuff in it, and that's what it is in art. It's art with lots of different colors and lines and shapes and textures. It's very exciting, it's very dynamic, it's not boring at all when you look at it. Okay, so here we have lots of different thicknesses of lines, a lot of different colors, a lot of different shapes. If you actually touch this painting, there'd be smooth parts, there'd be rough parts, there'd be bumpy parts. There's like, looks like there's squishy, squiggly parts, there's smoother parts. So this has a lot of different things going on in it, okay? And variety doesn't always mean like your painting has to look crazy. This has lots of different things in it, and it still kind of is calming to look at. Okay, now directional movement is just think of the idea of movement and the direction that your eye takes when you're looking at something, okay? So with directional movement, it's the idea that we want you to look at different parts of an artwork and not just get stuck on one thing. So with this sculpture, The Thinker, probably as human beings, we tend to look at people's faces first, right? And so your eye might start here, and then you realize that your eye kind of looks at his hand that he's resting his head on, right? And then we've got some different angles here. We've got a really sharp angle of his wrist. So my eye might start at the face, kind of follow his hand, go to the wrist, right? And then I see this line here. I'm like, hey, cool. I'm following his arm. And then you're like, oh, what up, Mr. Bicep? Hello. And then suddenly your eye's looking at his muscles or something. So that probably happens to you as you're looking at this, okay? So your eye kind of follows a path that moves in different directions, okay? You're looking at this painting by Keith Haring. Probably your eye doesn't stay on any one person. It probably starts at this dancing person, moves along here. You're like, hey, you're kicking him in the butt. What's up with you? And then he's mad about it. And this guy's still breakdancing, doing the Egyptian style, like, dance from the 80s. And then this guy's, I'm not sure what this is either, but I think it's another dance from the 80s. So your eye's kind of like popping around from person to person. Okay. And your eye probably flows and takes different direction through this image as well. So directional movement is just all about your eye moving around a piece. Now pattern, I'm pretty sure you've known pattern since you were like in kindergarten. Pattern just means like repetition of shapes and colors and lines, okay? So typically we use pattern to make things look pretty as human beings. Look in your room, there's probably something in your room, your bedspread, your blankets, your, even your clothes. Clothes tend to have patterns on them because that's how we make stuff look pretty. And it just means something that's repeating. Okay, now rhythm is different from pattern. It includes pattern. You can't have rhythm without pattern, but rhythm is just the idea that you use pattern to make your eye look through a piece. So again, your eye probably like bounces from can to can and row after row and column after column of cans. Okay, we have a pattern of American flags here, and your eye probably like starts here and then kind of pops out and moves around all of this stuff. Okay, so with rhythm, pattern helps to create movement. Okay, and we're getting closer to being done, so just bear with me. Contrast is all about taking different elements, especially things that are opposite each other, and creating a very dynamic piece of art. I'll show more examples. I'll show a food example as well. I'm going to skip through here. So I think this is a better example of contrast. We have a contrast of warm, fiery colors here with very cold, icy colors. Those are two very different things. Warm and cold, those are opposites. With contrast, you want to remember opposites. Okay, and I think the food analogy will be a lot better for you to understand. Okay, so think about foods and contrast in food. Typically, if you have a bowl of guacamole, you're going to eat it with chips. Okay, so this guacamole, the texture of it is very creamy and kind of squishy. Okay, and that's a big difference with the contrast of the very hard, crunchy chip. Okay, you're not gonna eat a piece of a scoop of guacamole with like a flimsy little pancake. You have to have that crunchy chip with it because it makes it taste more delicious, and there's a contrast of texture, the smooth and squishy with a crunchy. Here's another contrast in food. If you've ever had something spicy like chili, Or there's some really delicious Mexican dishes that I love.